Hey guys, it's Jack Cypher here. We're doing something brand new on this channel today, something I never thought I would actually do. It's a what if scenario. This sprang to my mind a couple videos back when I was reviewing Romance Dawn of One Piece. In it, I presented you all a question. What would have happened if Luffy joined Shanks' crew? Not permanently, because of course we know Luffy's goal, but, on a part-time basis. So basically a tutelage under Shanks. And, I said it, didn't think much of it, but when I kind of contemplated it more, I thought it might be an interesting idea for a video. I've seen what if videos in the past, not for a long, long time. I think one I do remember seeing was what if Luffy joined the Marines? But I thought I'd try it out and see where this goes. Now, all of my videos now are currently non-scripted, so tangents ahead and me talking over myself have been warned. But it's going to really come into effect in a video like this, because this is kind of very much my own headcanon mixed with my own fan fiction, essentially. Because I don't know exactly how this video is going to be plotted out. I've just sat in front of you with a vague idea of what I want to do, and I'm just going to start speaking about it. Now, this isn't going to be a full what if scenario. It's going to be split into parts. This is going to be part one. And if it's something you guys like and there's an interest in it, I'll finish off this story and do part two, part three, etc. Knowing me, there's probably going to be 300 goddamn parts of this one what if scenario. But that's enough talk. Let's get into it. So let's set our stage. It is Fuchsia Village, on the docks of Fuchsia Village, I should say. Luffy has just spoken to Shanks and has declared that he is going to surpass Shanks and his crew, and he is going to be the freest man alive, the Pirate King. And Shanks is looking at this boy that has just gone risk his life to defend their honor, a boy that he just sacrificed his own arm for. He sees him, a boy but with the shadow of a man, exclaiming something that no adult would dare say with a straight face. And he sees Luffy's passion and his desire and his will, and something sparks inside of his mind. He gets flashbacks of himself on board the Roger Pirate's crew, of a mere boy just eager to prove himself. And he comes to a decision that will forever alter this story as we know it. He asks Luffy whether or not he would want a tutelage under him. Luffy, being gobsmacked by Shanks's proclamation, asks what he means. Shanks lets Luffy know that he respects Luffy's desire to make it on his own, but what Shanks is offering him is a chance to not just be the freest man in the world, but to be the strongest. That he'll train Luffy up to be a warrior like none before, a true pirate, someone who will be unstoppable for anyone that dares to hurt as in Luffy's, Nakama, or anyone that would try and deprive Luffy of his freedom. Luffy, entranced by these words, agrees with Shanks's offer and departs with him after a few tearful tears? Jesus, Jack. A few tearful goodbyes with Makino. But without hesitation, he aboards the Red Force and goes out to sea with Shanks, without ever knowing that in a few months, when a certain vice admiral, when a certain hero of the Navy comes back to Fuchsia Village, that he would be leaving his grandfather in utter despair and worry, that his beloved grandson has now become a pirate. But back in the present day, Luffy is aboard the Red Force, sailing the seas with Shanks and his crew, with Lucky Roo stuffing his face and Yasop practicing his marksmanship, Ben Beckman sitting on the edge of the boat just taking the sights in. Luffy is finally at home. He's home at the sea, living his best life. But everything isn't going to be smooth sailing because Shanks appears before him and tells him that his training begins now. He lays out a training plan for Luffy, which revolves around perfecting his newly acquired Devil Fruit ability and eventually activating his Haki. Now, Shanks at this time doesn't know whether or not Luffy truly possesses Conqueror's Haki. He definitely suspects it, but without proof into the matter, he can only teach Luffy what he can: observation and armament. But Luffy, being only a 7-year-old boy, doesn't have the constitution yet necessary to start learning in these arts. So, what does Shanks have to do? He has to start training Luffy's body and mind up. So daily drills of constant exercising and workouts is going to be the beginning of Luffy's training. Then sparring with the weaker members of Shanks' crew to practice his Devil Fruit ability. As the days goes on and Luffy's training continues, Luffy starts to notice something that he can't believe that he'd forgotten. So focused on the new scenes, the new environment, his plans for the future, he's realized there's someone missing. Who might be missing, you ask? A certain red and white-headed friend of his named Uta. Now, author's note here. Uta, what you guys might not know, is actually a canon character. Now, everything that transpired in the movie is obviously not canon, but Uta being a character is canon. Shanks did rescue her from, not a treasure chest, it wasn't himself, but from a ship when she was 2 years old. She has been to Fuchsia Village, and Shanks has left her in Algier. Algier? I believe it's Algier, not Algae. Jesus, Jack. I believe it's Algier, but if I'm wrong, correct me in the comments. Now, my version of Uta, she definitely possesses the Uta Uta no Mi, the Sing Sing fruit. Whether or not she has that in canon is up to debate, but I like that fruit, and I reckon it goes well with her. And what's happened is that in Shanks's voyages around the East Blue, he's appeared at Fuchsia Village, he's met Luffy and everyone, Luffy's been introduced to Uta, Shanks has come back a few times, and each time he's come with Uta, but the most recent time, Uta hasn't been there, because thanks to her awakening powers and Shanks' thought on the seas not being a safe place for a young girl, he left her in Algier, and if you ask why, in my opinion, it's because Shanks is making the plans to become but a more notorious pirate than he currently is, so the threats are going to be increased. But let's get on to the story, and I'll explain why he's had a change of heart. But Luffy notices that Uta, his former friend and only friend that he's ever had his own age, isn't there. So preoccupied by his own training, Luffy smacks himself in the head for not realizing that Uta's not there. He goes up to Shanks, who's in a conversation with Ben Beckman, and asks Shanks where Uta is. Shanks looks down at his toes immediately, looks back up to Luffy sheepishly, and exclaims that Uta is no longer aboard the Red Force, that they've parted ways. Luffy, not being able to understand this, stomps on Shanks' foot without hesitation and asks him why she's no longer here, Luffy knowing how much Shanks meant to Uta. Shanks explains how the high seas was not a place for Uta, that her place was at Algier practicing and learning music. But Luffy vehemently disagrees and asks to go see her. Shanks, moved by Luffy's determination, contemplates his request. Of course, his original decision he stands by, but seeing the determination in Luffy's eyes, seeing how strong his will is to have Uta back among them makes Shanks reconsider his actions, or reconsider his original actions. Thanks to Luffy's inspirational words and Luffy's very own recent actions in Fuchsia Village, Shanks starts to think that maybe, just maybe, his family could be complete and that Uta could travel along with them. Shanks, living with the guilt of leaving Uta behind, realizes that this could be a chance to right wrongs, to realize that he may have been wrong in the mishandling of Uta, that she could have a place on this ship alongside Luffy. After much thought on the matter, Shanks agrees that they'll at least go and visit Uta, so they change their course for Algier. Now, Algier doesn't have a confirmed spot in One Piece, whether or not it's in the Grand Line, whether or not it's in one of the blues, but for this story, it's in the East Blue. After a bit over a week of traveling and more training for Luffy, they eventually reach Algier. Luffy beyond excited to see his first and only childhood friend. As they dock to Algier, Luffy notices that it's devoid of humans. He asks Shanks what's gone on, and Shanks lets him know that there was a great calamity here not long ago, and everyone other than Uta, Gordon, are gone. Luffy, not really yet understanding the true depths of the situation, doesn't think much on it. As they dock at the port, they all descend to find a very, very angry 9-year-old girl. Before anyone could say anything, she races up to Shanks and kicks him right in the shin. Shanks doubles over in pain, but Uta doesn't let him rest. She kicks the other shin. Shanks, now on his knees comically, having tears in his eyes, asks Uta why. Uta rightfully says, "You bastard, you've left me. What has taken you so long to come back?" Shanks, looking up in sorrow, understands the feelings that Uta has, and tells her that he's sorry and that he's made a mistake and that he's here to see her. Uta, moved but still hasn't had her fury quelled yet, just huffs and turns around. Gordon comes up and speaks to Shanks with a greeting. Luffy, though, walks up to Uta and starts the conversation. Uta, with no real animosity to Luffy, is happily to engage, and the pair walk off and start talking about the time they shared in Fuchsia Village together, Uta having missed her one friend truly. Missed her one friend truly? Missed her one friend dearly. The two begin to walk over the island, and Uta's telling Luffy about all the new songs that she's made. Luffy, being obsessed with hearing Uta sing, asks for a song, and Uta plays him a melody. As they're talking, or as Uta finishes singing, I should say, they begin talking, and Luffy asks Uta to join them. Uta, angry at Shanks, refuses. She doesn't want anything to do with the bastard that's left her. But Luffy strongly disagrees and reckons that Uta would be able to achieve her dream while aboard the Red Force. Uta has explained to Luffy that she desires to be able to sing to make people happy, and one day to sing to the entire world and bring everyone together. A very complicated and big goal that is hard for Luffy to understand and interpret, but he knows how much it means to Uta, and he's more than willing to go along with it, believing that Uta has more of a chance of accomplishing such a deed with Shanks and his crew, rather than being on an island by herself with just Gordon. Uta, very hesitant to accept, thanks to being burnt by Shanks before, has much to think on. Luffy understands that she needs some time to be by herself, and leaves to regroup with Shanks. Shanks and the others are partying in town with Gordon. Gordon happy to have guests after the last month of isolation. As they're partying, Uta presents herself and asks Shanks why he's left. Shanks confesses to the reason why he's left Uta here, or why he did leave Uta there, was because of The fact that Shanks was scared that he wouldn't be able to protect Uta, that they would come across more stronger foes than they had before, and that Uta would come to harm. Not wanting the girl he considers a daughter to be put in harm's way, he decided to leave her in Algier. Uta, still angry but moved by Shanks's words, runs up and hugs the only father figure she's ever known. Shanks has tears in his eyes that Uta appears to at least maybe not have forgiven him but accepted his apology. She agrees that she wants to come aboard the Red Force so she can be with the only family she's ever known and to help her achieve her goals. However, she states that Gordon must be coming with them, not willing to leave the man to his own devices. Gordon, very hesitant at first, agrees to her requests and becomes the newest member of the Red-Haired Pirates. With the newest acquisitions of crew members, the Red Force departs in the next morning and sails the seas. Luffy still continuing with his training, and Uta there to support him. And here is where we will get into a 1 year time skip. Over this 1 year, Luffy's skills in his Devil Fruit have improved dramatically, being able to put a lot of different techniques under his belt, like the Gum Gum Gatling or the Gum Gum Bazooka, the Gum Gum Axe. Many different techniques for both defense and offense. Shanks being incredibly proud with how far Luffy's come. Not just his skills with his Devil Fruit, but his physical stats, his speed and his strength. Far beyond that of a normal 8-year-old boy. But we live in the One Piece world where 8-year-old girls like Big Mom can get 500 million berry bounties on their head. Luffy, being a prodigy among prodigies, is progressing quickly, even to the state where he's able to even access a slight observation haki. Armament haki being still too much for his young body to handle, Shanks has has then decided, therefore, to teach Luffy observation haki, a much more useful ability for a child still. The new observation skill has also helped Luffy with his intelligence to be more observant, to be more patient, to truly take things in, a necessary requirement for observation haki. By no means even an adept level user of it. He's still able to sense everyone in a 10-meter radius to himself, regardless of if not he can see them. And his progression with it is just evolving by leaps and bounds every day. Uta, though, is not Luffy, is not the only one that's progressed. Uta has developed a new skill. So far, her Sing Sing Devil Fruit has only been allowing her to capture those of a certain strength into her music world. But thanks to her own training, not wanting to let Luffy outdo her, she's developed a new technique with her Devil Fruit called Battle Song, which allows her to increase the strength, speed, and momentum of anyone she uses it on. In this scenario, Luffy. The two of them team up to fight members of Shanks' crew to develop their strength. Together, they still might only have the power of two 8-year-olds and 11-year-old kids, but when they truly come together, they're able to perform techniques and maneuvers far greater than what their age would suggest, being able to back some of the weaker members of Shanks' crew into corners. Now, these weaker members of the Red-Haired Pirates are by no means monsters or powerful fighters, just above average regular pirates that have been able to survive this long on the Red-Haired crew. But as this is going on, Yasopp, the crew's marksman or the crew's sniper, gets word that his son Usopp has lost his mother recently and is currently living by himself. Very much moved and touched by the new acquisition of the two children the last year, Yasopp very much wants to bring Usopp under their wing as well. Hesitant at first, he asks Shanks and informs him of his desire. Shanks, more than willing to help his friend, agrees with adding on another children, while Ben Beckman jokes about this ship becoming a daycare. As they make their way, as they turn their heading and head their way to Syrup Village, Usopp, Luffy, and Uta continue to train and develop their bond even more, this time training against each other. Luffy's physical strength being able to overpower Uta quite easily, but Uta's smarts in using the ship's surroundings can play into her advantage. Using her battle song technique on herself as well further increases her agility and strength enough that Luffy doesn't just immediately wipe the floor with her. But with her main power being that of succumbing people into her dream world her dream world that's the music world, Uta is still not able to defeat Luffy. Her power's more useful for long-range attacks on unsuspecting victims. But they train until they get to Syrup Village, where they disembark and they search for Usopp. As they're searching Syrup Village, Yasopp is a nervous mess, very much hesitant to see his son after 8 years of absence, worried that Usopp won't even recognize him. After talking to some villagers, they're able to track Usopp down, and he's playing with 3 younger children. As Yasopp approaches, he smiles at the kind man that his son has become. Usopp turns around and sees the man from his family photos at home and recognizes him as his father. He races up to him and hugs him immediately before Yasopp can even get a word out. The two share a very tearful reunion and go off to have a heart-to-heart, talking about their mother and why Yasopp has left. Usopp, understanding that his father left to answer the call of the sea, isn't angry at him, but proud of him, something that Yasopp just can't comprehend. But Yasopp talks to Usopp about joining the Redhead Pirates with them, telling them that there are other kids on board that he could become friends with. Usopp, just eager to join his father, agrees instantly. And, with that, the Redhead Pirates have gained another crew member. Usopp and Luffy immediately take a liking to each other, while Uta is more reserved about Usopp's more silly nature and unkempt appearance. But she quickly realizes that Usopp has a kind heart, just like Luffy, and they become friends. This is where we get to another year time skip. Luffy and Usopp are now 9 years old, and Uta is 11 years old, 2 years older than them. Luffy has become even stronger, strong enough to take on the weaker members of Shanks' crew without needing to resort to Uta's battle song. Still by no means a master of Haki, and still not able to use armament Haki, his observation Haki has developed to the point where he's able to sense everyone in his own surroundings for a 50-meter radius, and has the slight ability to predict the attacks that are coming for him. Usopp has also started learning in observation Haki. Still a very amateur level, not even to the level that Luffy was a year prior. It's become very helpful for Usopp that with his marksmanship, showing that he's a sniper just as skilled as his father, and a sniper that will go on to be even greater than Yasopp himself. Uta continues to train in her Devil Fruit and hand-to-hand ability, and with her Devil Fruit side of things, she's now able to lock people in her music world for longer periods of time thanks to her stamina increasing, and is able to use it on stronger opponents. The 3 very promising pirates are currently in Fishman Island because their captain, Shanks, decided that it's time that they go to the Grand Line again. They've coated their ship and sailed under the water, the 3 kids mesmerized by the sights that they were seeing. The whole crew listening as Uta sang a melody of the underwater creatures. But as they arrived in Fishman Island, Shanks and his top commanders have gone off because King Neptune has personally greeted them, knowing of Shanks' reputation and wanting to get the stature of the man. The two quickly involve into a drinking contest, and a party ensues. But Luffy, Usopp, and Uta want to explore. They want to go have fun, so they venture off into Fishman Island, but quickly come across somewhere where they shouldn't be, the Fishman District. A place crawling with criminals and fishmen that very much despise humans. And one fishman in particular, Sword-Tooth Pirate Arlong, making an appearance in the story 8 years before his time in Cocoa Village. And he immediately sees the three children and stalks up to them. Luffy, thanks to his observation haki, is immediately able to recognize that this man is a threat. Accompanying him are some of his top men. Kurobi, Hachi, and Chu. I believe those are their names. But if I'm wrong, let me know down in the comments. Along with a handful of other weaker pirates. The three kids, very much hesitant and now worried, wait for them to approach them. Arlong starts threatening them about human children being here is a recipe for disaster, and talks about his hatred of humankind. He immediately says that they're going to kill the three children. Some members of his crew, Hachi in particular, look on with hesitation, not wanting to commit such an awful action. But Arlong, with his demanding nature, silences any naysayers and goes to attack them. Luffy and Uta especially, realizing the situation, react instantly, and Uta uses her ability to trap people in the music realm, singing a beloved melody that even stops the ferocious fishmen in their track. The weaker members of the crew, even characters like Kurobi and Chu and Hachi, succumb to the melody and fall unconscious, being transported into the music world. Uta, in the music world, uses her reality-bending powers to trap them with a warped sense of humor on fishhooks. With the characters being unable to move, Arlong looks back in shock that all his men accompanying him has been knocked out. As the song starts to work on Arlong, as he falls to one knee, he grabs the water that's in his palm and shoots off shark bullets at Uta. Luffy, not quick enough to respond to it, can't stop the shards of water piercing Uta. While merely flesh wounds, one of the blades of water has nicked her neck, causing her to stop her song and allowing Arlong to regain composure over himself. In a rage of what's transpired, he's rushed at Luffy with his massive sword in hand, ready to cleave the boy in two. Usopp provides backup and starts firing off slingshot attacks at Arlong. Arlong gets stopped abruptly by the sudden explosions on his body, and Luffy uses this to his advantage to get in close to Arlong and hit him with a Gum Gum Bazooka, it being strong enough to send Arlong flying 10 meters away from him. Arlong, shocked at such strength of a mere boy, is flabbergasted, but not letting that stop him, he charges at Luffy again. Luffy, being able to better read an angry opponent's movements, is able to keep up with his maneuvering and his evasion to dodge Arlong's blows. Not strong enough to end Arlong in one attack, Luffy knows that it's going to be a long fight and that he needs to pick his shots. As he dances around Arlong grows angry, and his moves start picking up speed and power. He starts nicking Luffy not being able to fully evade each blow. Cuts appearing on his cheek and legs makes Luffy more anxious to be able to escape Arlong's grasp. As he tries to get some distance, Usopp provides more cover with more of his lead star explosions. Arlong, though, having enough of Usopp, turns around and uses the same attack that he used to take out Uta. Water blades pierce Usopp even more directly than it did Uta, and he goes flying into an abandoned building. Luffy, enraged by his comrades and friends being hurt, attacks Arlong with a new ferocity. Gum Gum Gatlings, Gum Gum pistols, Gum Gum spears, all manner of attacks. Arlong, struggling to defend us against such unorthodox devil fruit attacks, gets pushed back and starts developing bruises and contusions onto his body. And as Luffy attacks him again, Arlong uses his teeth to grab Luffy's approaching arm. After he bites down on Luffy's arm, he uses the momentum to then throw Luffy. Luffy, being thrown in midair, is incapable of dodging the massive elbow strike that Arlong inflicts to his midsection. Going down in a massive huff, with heaps of internal injuries, Luffy looks up, worried that this is going to be not only his end, but his friend's end. But Uta isn't going to let Luffy die like this. In her weakened state and with her throat injured, she's able to get up onto one knee and sing her battle song technique to empower Luffy. Luffy, getting almost a ×2 increase in strength and speed here, takes Arlong for a surprise with a massive uppercut. Arlong, staggered by the ability, wasn't able to defend against the Gum Gum whip that sent him flying into more abandoned buildings. Angry that a child is pushing him this far, he starts raging at Luffy again and goes to attack. But Luffy's newfound speed and his new focus of trying to protect his friends allows him to dance around Arlong. His greater speed proving too much for Arlong to get a hold of. Luffy hitting him with another Gum Gum bazooka and coming down with a Gum Gum axe forces Arlong into the ground. But Arlong, not to be dissuaded, grabs Luffy's foot that's just crushed him into the ground and bites his ankle. Luffy, in pain, tries to retract his foot back into his normal size leg, but with Arlong's mighty jaws grabbing onto his foot, he's incapable of doing it. Arlong grabs his sword, ready to cleave Luffy's leg in two, but Luffy, realizing the urgency, suddenly appears in front of Arlong. Because he's retracted his leg, he's now up onto Arlong's physical body, and he punches him. Not able to do too much though, Arlong uses his sword tooth to pierce Luffy's collarbone and to throw him 50 meters into the air. The impact of the fall not having any damage thanks to his regular body, but his little 9-year-old body not capable of taking all these injuries. As Arlong's about to approach the wounded Luffy, Uta starts getting up and starts charging at Arlong, willing to do anything to protect her friend. But Arlong backhands her with no hesitation. Uta goes flying onto the ground. Arlong, in a sadistic joy, decides to kill Uta first, to make Luffy watch as he loses his friend, just showing Arlong's sick enjoyment in taking pleasure in making humans suffer just the way they've made Fishman suffer. As he goes to cleave Uta in two with his massive sword, a power in Luffy awakens. A massive burst of Conqueror's Haki spreads out of him and shocks Arlong. It's such a force of Haki that it sends Arlong skirting 3 meters away from Uta. Absolutely shocked at what he's just seen, Arlong forgets Uta and starts charging at Luffy. But that sudden burst of Conqueror's Haki has not only empowered Luffy to get back up onto his feet, it's also alerted Shanks and the rest of his crew about what's going on. Shanks, feeling Luffy's presence and immediately realizing he's in danger, rushes over there. But Luffy can't wait for Shanks' intervention. He attacks Arlong head on, the two fighting back and forth, Luffy getting the upper hand, and he's able to shatter Arlong's great sword with just a mere kick. His observation haki going haywire to compensate for his injured body. Luffy is getting hit in after hit in on Arlong, but in his weakened state, they're not strong enough to bring him down. As Arlong, though, goes to attack Luffy to end him in one final strike, Usopp, in the injured building, is able to fire off with his slingshot ropes that he's found in his toolbox, or not toolbox, his little tool bag. The ropes go flying at Arlong and wrap around his body. The rope's not strong enough to truly like capture Arlong for a long period of time. Is enough to stall him for a second, and that time is all that Luffy needs. He rushes at Arlong. He stretches his arm back and curls it around and uses a new technique, Gum Gum Rifle. He sends Arlong hurtling into more buildings, crashing through building after building, blood splurting out of his face. Arlong collapses. Luffy also falls to his knees, and Uta immediately goes to his side. Arlong, though, in just a fit of hatred of humankind, gets to his feet. But that burst of Luffy's Conqueror's Haki has grabbed more than Shanks' attention. As Arlong's approaching Luffy in an almost unconscious state, a certain man appears. A man that possesses as much honor as anyone in the fishman species ever has. A man who's the most powerful fishman alive. The first son of the sea, Jinbei, appearing before Arlong out of nowhere. Witnessing the final stages of this fight, he reprimands Arlong and uses his fishman jujutsu to finish off the sawtooth pirate. Jinbei being there to save the young children leaves them with a feeling of protection and warmth. Luffy immediately being able to recognize that this fishman is different. And Jinbei approaches them. He compliments on Luffy on such a task well done, to be able to handle someone like Arlong in his youthful state. Who is he? Rock Lee. In his young age. And as he's approaching the children, this is when Shanks appears. He sees the situation and he immediately goes to attack Jinbei. Jinbei, holding his hands up in surrender, though, informs Shanks of what's gone on. Uta and Luffy agreeing, Usopp as well, who have now come to accompany the other two young children. All three of them hurt and broken. Shanks, in a furious state, walks over to the unconscious Arlong, ready to kill him. But Jinbei asks that they let the fishman handle his punishment. Jinbei takes Arlong's unconscious body to King Neptune and asks for him to be imprisoned for life. Not allowing such a heinous crime against innocent children to go unpunished, King Neptune agrees. As Arlong faces imprisonment, Luffy, Uta, and Usopp are busy recovering. Days go past, and Shanks's worry of the young children passes, realizing now that they're no longer in danger. The three children have just experienced a truly traumatic moment, but it has made them stronger. As they're recovering, a certain mermaid appears, called Charlie. She has appeared because she is the sister of Arlong, and she's wanted to come and face the children that her brother had so nearly killed. Charlie, or Madame Charlie if we want to call her that, approaches the children, ready to apologize on her brother's behalf, knowing that the fishman would never ever grovel to human children. Charlie, though, as she approaches them, all of a sudden gets a vision. Charlie, being the most prolific fortune teller in all of Fishman Island, foresees something she never thought she would foresee. A massive fire engulfing Fishman Island, Luffy the cause of it, with a melody of death appearing in the background. She stutters back, absolutely shocked of what she's seen. Before the children can even ask her what's wrong, she immediately flees, not sure of what she's seen or what it means. Could two young children really be the cause of destroying all of Fishman Island? She couldn't believe it. While her fortunes have always come true thus far, none of them have ever been this big. She keeps her thoughts to herself, not willing to endanger children that could potentially be, and at this stage at least, are innocent. As the days go by and the children heal up, they have an introduction with Jimbei and find out that he's one of the seven warlords of the sea and that he's an ally to Whitebeard, the Yonko that rules over Fishman Island. In awe of such a strong individual, the children pester him, trying to get him to teach them techniques. But Jimbei can't stay, having too many duties up on the Grand Line in the New World. He goes back. He goes back to the New World and has a conversation with Whitebeard, explaining that he's just seen red-haired Shanks and 3 promising disciples. But we almost get to the end of our story, where the children and Shanks and the rest of the crew go back up into the go back up into the New World, and they settle on an island. But this isn't just any island, because someone else makes their appearance. They've just had an encounter with one warlord. Why not make it 2? Because everyone on the island knows this man, knows that swagger, knows that blade, knows those eyes. It's Hawkeye Mihawk, the greatest swordsman in the world, and he's here to have a conversation with Shanks, to have a meeting with Shanks. The crew might be used to these acquaintances, dueling it out, getting drunk together, but the 3 children are in awe in such a powerful figure. Not just a warlord, but a man capable of handling Yonkos. Of course, Shanks hasn't reached that prestige yet, but there's no doubting that these 2 men are 2 of the strongest people in the entire series. The children settle on a log waiting to see what will happen by these 2 interactions. But before they can witness anything, it ends part 1 of this what-if scenario. Alright guys, I have no idea how long that has been, and truthfully, I really have no idea how good it was. Like I said, it's entirely non-scripted. It was literally me thinking it as I go. Originally, when I had an idea of this video, it was going to be like a 30-minute video and I would explain every detail that happens. But every time I was thinking about it, it ended up being more of a fan fiction-y-esque video. Now, I don't know at all how this is going to be taken by all of you, if you're going to like this, if you're going to absolutely hate this. Most videos I bring out, I'm happy with the content of it. But this is a video where I'm truly kind of, oh, should I post this? Shouldn't I post this? Who knows? I'm going to post it. I'm going to bite the bullet and go out on a limb. I hope you guys do like it. If you don't, worst case happens. No one really watches it. But let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Do you like it in this type of format? Would you prefer me just to be like, Luffy trains with Shanks, he gets Hucky, flash forward years, and then go forward with like each current story event, like, you know, Baratier, Fishman Island, Alabasta, Punk Hazard, like all of them like he usually would, and how he deals with it with his new formed Hucky abilities. I could do that. I thought that was a little bit more boring though. But either way, I've been talking long enough. Leave down in the comments what you guys think of this video. If it's truly awful, which who knows, it probably is, roast me down in the comments. If you guys like it and want a part 2, then let me know. As you can see with my reaction to this video, I definitely just wanted to do this in one part, because if this is a type of format that you guys really don't like, I don't want to bore you by going on for freaking 4 hours about this. So let me know in the comments if you want more, and I'll release part 2. But I've been Jack Cypher. It's been a pleasure deciphering this what-if scenario, and peeps, Have a lovely day. Cypher out.